Hey, what's up guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the iFi xDSD portable USB DAC. Now, for those who might not be aware what a DAC is, I would highly suggest to Google it. Essentially, it produces better audio than you would ever get from a smartphone, and in most cases from your PC as well. Now, this can be connected in a variety of different ways, but what really makes this product special is the fact that it can connect via Bluetooth to a smartphone, and therefore you can just simply pair up via Bluetooth and therefore listen with your headphones connected directly in this with no cables connected between these two devices. I'll get into that in just a bit in terms of the setup, and in this review I'll be very much directly comparing it to the Mojo/Poly combination, which in this respect, this combo costs around 840 odd pounds, whereas this on its own and has the same functionalities as the Mojo Poly combination costs 400 pounds. So for those that might think that 400 pounds is a lot, I've just put it into perspective that it's a lot cheaper than its competitor. In the US, it can be found for $400, making it an even better deal. Links to all of these will be in the description below, including my full review to the Mojo/Poly combination and my thoughts about it. Now, in the box itself, I just thought to mention what you get. So inside this very nice thin box, you get the iFi DAC. You've got a bunch of different cables, which, in all honesty, I'm not sure why this one has been included, but I'm sure someone will find a use for it. And then you've got a USB 3.0 cable, which, again, oddly, is very weird in terms of the color combination you've got here. You've got a nice little carrying case, which I definitely like. Good job, iFi, for that. You've got some 3M dual locks, which is useful because you can put them on the DAC and then on your phone and then stick them together. Something I always used to do when I was carrying a portable DAC around. Nevertheless, that's very useful to have. And then you've got a very, very handy manual which goes through all the setup and everything that you'd need to know about your device. And this is really well done, and it's not very often I'm going to comment on a manual, but this is really useful and will help out a lot of people. Now, my only complaints in terms of what's included is this cable is relatively short. Even though it's nice and thick and feels like it's like a shielded cable, I would have liked it to be a lot longer, because on my PC setup, or I think most PC setups, you find this is a bit too short. Now, you might be wondering what on earth is with these connections. Why is it male and female? That's simply because in order to connect up the iFi xDSD to your PC or via a OTG connector, which like so. So this is a USB-C to a female USB type A. God, I'm gonna get confused with all these connectors, but nevertheless, that connects up over here, and then once you've done that, it connects up to your PC. Now, of course, I just looked at the direction and got it wrong, but there we go. Third time lucky. But anyway, it connects up like this, so this is how you can use it as a DAC. However, as I said before, you can connect it up via Bluetooth as well. So just to give you an idea of the setups that you can have. Now, I'm just going to quickly go through a little bit of a product demo. In other words, to show you what's in front of you. So you've got a 3.5mm jack, that's for your output. Here you've got a selector, and here you've got a knob. So the little knob is clicky and it's very nice. I love the fact that it's got a tactile feel, and it's a very small minor increase or decrease in volume. Very useful because if you want to adjust the volume by a slight bit, you can do so via this amp. So very, very useful, and I really like the inclusion. Now, if I press down the button, you'll be able to see it comes up in green, and that's just simply because I previously connected up to my PC. And then if I were to hold it down, it would go white to switch off. If I want to change mode, I'm going to hold it down. So last mode was green, but if I keep holding it down, it should change to blue, which is on Bluetooth, as the name would suggest. And then that would connect up to my phone via Bluetooth. You can see right there the blue light stopped flashing, so now it's paired up. Now, what's cool about this is this has aptX codec, whereas the Chord and Chord's solution, the Poly, does not. So that is a massive boost in terms of the overall sound quality that you can get over Bluetooth, because that's a massive plus. I really like items, or should I say audio devices that support the aptX codec. Now on the right hand side you've got a little settings cog. Essentially this flicks between the 3D plus and the X-Bass plus buttons, and you can have them both enabled or both completely disabled. Now the 3D one essentially tries to bring out more of like a spatial sound. In my experience, from what I found, is that it didn't really work for music. However, if you're listening to live recordings or if you're gaming, the 3D plus option might be something that you would like to explore. The differences are very minor, but they can be heard to a trained ear, or ones if you're using like a high quality audio device. In other words, if you're using some good earphones or using some good headphones, then you'll be able to hear the difference. Now the X-Bass plus button, I felt pushed the mid bass a little bit extra and really extended the sub bass tones a little bit deeper. However, I did feel that it kind of over bloated the sound and made it more warmer than it should be. So personally I had X-Bass plus disabled. So most of the time I actually used it with both of these disabled, but nevertheless your mileage might vary. At the back you've got a SPDIF optical input, and I'm not sure if I showed you, but you've also got a little adapter which is included, which is great. So if you've got an amplifier or whatever it might be. You've got that USB Type A male connector at the back for connecting up to the PC or your OTG cable. Then you've got a measure and listen. Now this is really, I would usually leave it on listen, but if you want to measure the device or you want to measure your devices, then you can do via this iFi DAC. And then you've got a micro USB connector which is used to charge up the device, and you've got a mini cable in order to do that. Now again, this is pretty short. I don't know why they've included such a short cable, but a longer cable would have been greatly appreciated. But these two cables that I talked about that could be longer can be found very easily and very cheaply on eBay and what have you. Now what I like about this is that when you press this button over here, it mutes the DAC. Now it doesn't pause it, it mutes it, which means that if you are listening to music and you just want to quickly mute it, so in order you can hear some environment noise outside of you, whatever it is, then you can do so by tapping that. So, and you can see that it's indicated by that flashing LED color at the back. Now in terms of the casing itself, it's made of magnesium aluminium alloy. That's what the company claims, and I must say it looks quite nice if you don't touch it. In my opinion, it gets too many fingerprint marks and it just doesn't look that great when it's been used quite a lot. And given the fact that this is quite a portable sort of a solution, I can see people using this and having their hands all over it and not just sitting on a desk looking pretty. So as much as it's nice and it's solid and it's strong, it's not going to break, I do feel that I would have liked it to have like a non fingerprint magnet material, which almost like the back end of this would have been perfect for me. But nevertheless, that's what iFi decided to include. So that's pretty much it in terms of the product overview. I don't think I've missed anything. Now, the most important thing is how does it sound? Now, before I go into how does it sound, I'd like to just quickly talk about what it supports. Now, it supports MQA. Now, for those who don't know, MQA is something that's available on Tidal. I think it's Tidal Premium that you'll need. But essentially, Tidal has MQA, and that's is very sought after by all your files because of the sound quality that you can get from it. Nevertheless, this supports MQA. The Mojo Poly combination does not support MQA, and it also supports DSD 256 via USB input, but also DSD 512 as well, which is very impressive given the fact that you listen to the highest quality, or one of the highest quality, or higher quality streams via this device. It also supports 384 kilohertz up to 768 kilohertz. That's plenty of kilohertz to play around with. But nevertheless, that's just something I just thought to mention because in terms of specs wise, you might be interested in knowing what it can do. Via its SPDIF coaxial input, it will support 192 kilohertz 24 bits. So bear that in mind. Now that is a lot of specs just to throw at you. All the specs will be down in the description below, so make sure you check that out. So now on to the most important part of the review, the sound quality. How does it sound? Well, I must say, iFi have done a fantastic job with the xDSD. It sounds fantastic. However, there are some points I'd like to mention, and also a lot of comparisons I would like to draw with the Chord Mojo. So first of all, I tested it by plugging it into my PC and seeing how it sounded via files I had on my PC and streaming services, and then I also used it via Bluetooth on my OnePlus 5T. Now, what I found is that when it was connected up to my PC, I much preferred the sound of the Chord Mojo. And there are certain reasons behind this. First of all, I preferred the more detailed and more forward-sounding mids. I preferred the cleaner, tighter mid-bass slam, and the overall soundstage was just a little bit more involving. Now, it's not to say the xDSD is bad at that, it's just that when compared to something like the Chord Mojo, I felt that it was not as good, or not as favourable, at least in my opinion, at least to my ears. Now, the xDSD sounds fantastic. Now, the sub-bass extends very low, especially with that X-Bass Plus option. You get loads of low-end extension. The mid-bass, now, it was a bit of a mixed bag. It did have a lot of a mid-bass slam. However, it did feel slightly uncontrolled at times, which was annoying for me because I do listen to a lot of music, such as R&B music, that has a lot of mid-bass. Now, in terms of the mids, even though it had a mid-bass slam that was uncontrolled, it was pretty strong, and therefore that leaked into the mids. And the mids felt a little bit pushed back, a little bit veiled, and just didn't come out as much as they should have. That's not to say that it's not accurate sounding, far from it. It sounds very good. It's just that when compared to the Chord Mojo, I felt that it was just slightly pushed back. It didn't sound as revealing. The highs, I had no problems with it. It extends very well and yet isn't sibilant. If anything, the Chord Mojo was slightly sibilant when I used it with my my custom earphones. I felt that it was just a little bit on the high end. It could be harsh as some more sensitive ears. Now, I don't have that sensitive ears in order to be annoyed by that much sibilance, but I can note the difference between these two Dacs. Now, the overall soundstage, instrument separation is good. The overall width and depth of the soundstage, in terms of the DAC, is also very good. But again, when I compared it to Chord Mojo, I just felt that it wasn't as, as wide as made you feel that you were there. It felt a little bit more distant, a little bit colder. That's not to say it's neutral, it's more the fact that it just felt a little bit, I don't know quite how to explain it, but nevertheless, all I'm just trying to say is that soundstage wise, I felt it was just a little bit lacking. Now, that's not to say the xDSD is a bad device, far from it. It's a very, very competent device that's very multi-platform orientated and supports more things than the Chord Mojo can do. Now, would I recommend it? Now, you might think, after that mention of the sound quality, I would definitely recommend the Chord Mojo. But you're forgetting something. The Chord Mojo, or the Poly combination is what I'm reviewing over here, costs around £840 combined, something around that. Take away the Poly and you've got a £400 device over here. That's the equivalent of this. However, this is the equivalent of the £840 combination I talked about. So therefore, if you're going to be using it on a PC, solely on a PC, and you're just going to be plugging it via USB, then in my opinion, I would choose the Chord Mojo. If, however, you want something that's a little lighter, a little sleeker looking, and even though it's a fingerprint magnet, looks quite cool, and something that you can take at work, use via Bluetooth on your smartphone, and use on your PC, then this is by far the best option. And you might be wondering why, because if sound quality wise I preferred the Mojo, why would I recommend this? Well, there's a few reasons. One of the biggest reasons is the fact that it's a whole all-in-one package that simply works. No faffing around with complicated setups, no worrying about a Wi-Fi bridge, not wondering about why it's not connecting and swearing at and having to reset the device to the point that you don't use it, aka that's what happened with my Mojo and Poly combination. But this just works. It just works out the box. It took literally about 5-10 seconds to pair, and it has aptX codec. That is a big deal for me because my phone supports aptX codec, and therefore when I'm outputting sound via Bluetooth, I get a better quality stream over Bluetooth via the aptX codec versus the Mojo and Poly combinations, which supports A2DP only, which therefore gives a better quality stream even though the DAC on this, in my opinion, sounds better. So, long story short, if you're someone who's going to be taking stuff on the go and you're going to be portable, then there's no better solution than the xDSD. If, however, it's something that you're just going to be plugging on your PC and never moving, like what happens to my Mojo, then I would suggest a Mojo. I know, Mojo baby, Austin Powers and all that. Anyway, that's just my own suggestions and my own personal preference. Would I recommend this product? As I said, absolutely. As long as you're someone who's going to be using it on the go, then I'll definitely suggest this. There's no better product, in my opinion, in the market that really challenges this in terms of overall sound quality, looks, design, functionalities, and supported codecs and formats. It's very impressive, and I must say, hats off to iFi for producing such a lovely product. So there we go, guys. I've been Totally Dubbed. If you've enjoyed this review, make sure you give it a like, comment, subscribe, favorite, and share. It always helps the channel grow. I'm an unbiased reviewer, unpaid as well, unsponsored. I just do it for fun. And I can't stress this enough. You won't find many reviewers out there. And if you favorite and share, subscribe, like, even tell your friends about me, then it helps my channel grow and means that I can get different types of products for me to give you an honest review. And this has been an honest review of the iFi xDSD amplifier portable DAC, or whatever you'd like to call it. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care and bye bye.